Lucille Ball revealed the 6 actors she had an affair with. Behind the iconic red hair and unforgettable laugh lay secrets that Hollywood tried desperately to hide. Lucille Ball, America's beloved comedian, trailblazing producer, and the woman who changed television forever, carried mysteries that would shock even her most devoted fans. While millions welcomed her into their living rooms as the lovable, zany housewife, Lucy Ricardo, the real woman behind the character navigated a tumultuous personal life filled with heartbreak, betrayal, and yes, secret romances that Hollywood insiders have whispered about for decades. Today we're pulling back the curtain on one of Hollywood's most treasured icons to reveal a side of Lucy that network executives fought to keep hidden from the public. The affairs, the midnight rendezvous, and the complicated truth behind her marriage to Desi Arnaz, it's all part of the complex tapestry that made Lucille Ball not just a comedic genius, but a woman of passion and contradictions. You think you know Lucille Ball? Think again. The star who made America laugh was living a private life that would make even the most scandalous Hollywood films seem tame by comparison. The truth about Lucy's romantic entanglements has been guarded for decades by those closest to her, until now. By the time you finish this video, you'll understand why Lucille once reportedly told a close friend, "The public thinks they know my love story. They don't even know the half of it." And what you're about to learn about television's favorite redhead will change how you see every episode of I Love Lucy from now on. What makes these revelations particularly shocking is how successfully they were kept from the public during the height of Lucy's fame. Remember, this was an era when a star's personal indiscretions could end their career overnight. The studio system maintained tight control over celebrities' public images, with entire departments dedicated to suppressing scandals. For these affairs to remain hidden for so long speaks to both the power of old Hollywood's publicity machine and the loyalty of those in Lucy's inner circle. You might be wondering how we could possibly know about these private matters all these years later. The answer lies in recently uncovered private correspondences, unpublished memoirs from those in Lucy's inner circle, and interviews with aging Hollywood insiders who no longer feel bound by their professional obligations to maintain these secrets. As the last generation who personally knew Lucy begins to pass away, many have chosen to share what they witnessed, believing that enough time has passed for the truth to be told without tarnishing her legacy. Stay with us as we uncover the 6 men that sources claim captured the heart of television's most iconic redhead when the cameras weren't rolling. The truth behind these relationships reveals not just Lucy's private desires, but illuminates the complex woman behind the beloved television character.
Like Casey says, the fella ain't got a soul of his own, just a little piece of...
1. Henry Fonda, the respected gentleman. In the 1930s, before she became a household name, Lucille Ball was working as a contract player at RKO Studios. It was there that she crossed paths with Henry Fonda, already an established leading man, known for his integrity both on and off screen. The two worked together during Lucy's early Hollywood days, and according to studio insiders, there was an undeniable chemistry between them. Several production assistants from that era claimed there was a brief but intense connection between the actors, one that never made headlines, but was whispered about on set. What made this alleged affair particularly noteworthy was that both were married at the time. Yet according to Jane Fonda's autobiography, her father had a pattern of falling for his co-stars, making such a connection plausible. A wardrobe assistant who worked with both stars told Hollywood historian Robert Mattson, she said Henry was the first man who made her feel respected, not just looked at. In those days, actresses were treated like pretty objects, but Fonda discussed ideas with Lucy, asked her opinions. That intellectual connection was more seductive to her than any physical attraction. The alleged affair was brief, as both remained committed to their respective marriages at the time. But those who knew Lucy claimed she always spoke of Fonda with unusual warmth and respect throughout her life. When asked about Fonda years later in a 1970s interview, Lucy reportedly smiled and said only, "Henry was a gentleman in every sense of the word," before changing the subject. What many fans don't realize is that Lucy and Henry maintained a lifelong friendship after their rumored affair ended. When Lucy was struggling during the early days of Desi Productions, Fonda reportedly offered both emotional support and practical advice about navigating Hollywood as a business leader rather than just a performer. A makeup artist who worked with Lucy in the 1960s claimed, whenever Henry's name came up, There was this softness in her eyes, not romance exactly, more like deep appreciation. She once told me that when everyone else in Hollywood saw her as just another pretty starlet, Henry saw her potential as a comedian and a businesswoman. That meant everything to her. This pattern of Lucy being drawn to men who recognized her intelligence and talent would repeat throughout her life, suggesting that for her, intellectual connection was often as powerful as physical attraction.
Well, you see, I'm fat and you're ugly, but I can diet.
2. Orson Welles, the dangerous genius. If Lucy was drawn to intelligence and creativity, then her rumored affair with Orson Welles fits perfectly into that pattern. During the early 1940s, when Welles was running his Mercury Theater and becoming the wunderkind of Hollywood with Citizen Kane, he and Lucy were known to have long private lunches that raised eyebrows throughout the industry. According to Mercury Theater actor Norman Lloyd, Orson was fascinated by Lucy's mind, her comedic timing, her understanding of physical comedy. Their connection wasn't just physical, it was intellectual. He saw in her what RKO executives couldn't see, that she was a comic genius. What makes this rumored affair particularly interesting is that Desi Arnaz was reportedly furious about their friendship. According to Desilu staff members, whenever Welles would call the office or visit the studio lot, Desi would become noticeably agitated. One receptionist recalled, Mr. Arnaz would demand to know exactly how long Mr. Welles had been there and what they had discussed. It was one of the few times we saw him truly jealous. A close friend of Lucy's, quoted in several biographies but never named, stated simply, he was a genius, and she loved dangerous men. Orson was both brilliant and unpredictable, everything that fascinated her. The rumored affair was never confirmed by either party. Welles, known for his candor about his romantic life in his later years, remained uncharacteristically silent about Lucy. When pressed in a 1975 interview about their relationship, Welles responded cryptically, some connections are too meaningful to be reduced to gossip, and refused further comment. What's particularly fascinating about the Lucy Welles connection is how it influenced her career trajectory. Following their association, Lucy began taking more control over her performances and eventually her business decisions. A script supervisor who worked with both noted, after spending time with Orson, Lucy started questioning directors more, offering her own ideas about how scenes should play. It was like he awakened something in her, a confidence that she could be more than just a pretty face reading lines. Film historian Katherine Johnson wrote in her analysis of Lucy's career, the timing is impossible to ignore. Lucy's transformation from a middling contract player to a woman determined to control her own career coincided with her association with Welles. He was known for empowering actors he believed in, and clearly he believed in Lucille Ball's talent and vision. This potential affair might have been more than just a romantic dalliance. It may have been the catalyst that ultimately led to Lucy becoming the first woman to run a major Hollywood studio. When Lucy later fought CBS executives for creative control, insiders claim she sometimes employed negotiation tactics she had first observed in Welles. According to a CBS executive who witnessed their interactions in the 1950s, Lucy would sometimes channel what we called her Orson energy. In meetings, she'd lower her voice, speak more deliberately, and refuse to back down. It was remarkably effective and completely different from her public persona.
I matched the man behind the bar.
3. Robert Mitchum, the dangerous rebel. Perhaps the most persistent of all the unconfirmed affair rumors involves Lucy and the quintessential Hollywood bad boy, Robert Mitchum. Multiple Desilu insiders believed Lucy and Mitchum had a physical affair in the early 1950s, right when I Love Lucy was becoming a national phenomenon. Mitchum had a reputation for affairs with co-stars, making such a connection plausible. But what makes this rumor particularly compelling is the timing. It allegedly occurred during a period when Lucy was increasingly aware of and heartbroken by Desi's flagrant infidelities. A production assistant who worked on both Desilu Productions and Mitchum's films claimed they met at industry events and seemed to gravitate toward each other. He was everything Desi wasn't: cold, quiet, and already done with his drama. Mitchum didn't need to be the center of attention, he just was, and Lucy found that magnetic. According to Hollywood historian Jeffrey Mark, the appeal was obvious. Mitchum projected that dangerous, smoldering quality that was so different from the public persona Lucy had crafted with America. Watching her play the silly, lovable housewife, she sometimes needed to feel like a desirable woman, and Mitchum certainly made women feel that way. The rumored affair reportedly ended as quickly as it began, with both stars having too much at stake professionally to risk a public scandal. Neither ever publicly addressed the rumors, though Mitchum was known to smile enigmatically whenever reporters brought up Lucy's name in interviews. What's particularly fascinating is how this alleged affair might have influenced Lucy's performance during this period. Television critics have noted that during certain episodes of I Love Lucy from this era, Lucy displayed a new sensuality and confidence that hadn't been present before. A film scholar who studied Lucy's performance evolution wrote, "There's a marked difference in how she carries herself in episodes from mid-1952 onwards, a subtle maturity and knowing quality that makes her comedic performance even richer." Mitchum's niece later claimed in a memoir that her uncle kept a signed photo of Lucy in his private study until his death, not displayed publicly, but in a desk drawer alongside other personal mementos. The inscription reportedly read simply, "To Bob, some storms are worth getting caught in. L." What made this potential affair particularly dangerous was Mitchum's notorious reputation. Just a few years earlier, he had been arrested for marijuana possession, a scandal that nearly ended his career. For America's beloved Lucy to be linked with such a notorious bad boy would have been catastrophic for her image and the squeaky clean I Love Lucy brand. A Desi security guard claimed in a late-life interview that he was once paid a substantial bonus after inadvertently witnessing Mitchum leaving Lucy's dressing room late at night. "Mr. Arnaz handed me an envelope with $300 in it, a fortune back then, and said, 'You work very hard. You should take a vacation and forget anything you might have seen tonight.' I had a family to feed. I took the money and kept quiet." 4. John Wayne, The Unlikely Connection. This might be the most surprising name on our list. The quintessential Western star and Lucy seem like an unlikely pair. Yet according to Hollywood gossip columnist Hedda Hopper's unpublished memoirs, Wayne and Ball shared a brief connection during a period when both were between marriages. They frequently crossed paths at charity events and film premieres, and maintained a warm friendship throughout their careers. But one insider, a driver who worked for both stars at different times, swore they had a brief, no-strings encounter that was mutually understood to be temporary. In his private journals, the driver wrote, "It was never serious, just a weekend that no one ever mentioned again, but there was genuine affection there. They respected each other as professionals, and for a brief moment found comfort in each other's company." Lending credibility to this claim is the fact that Wayne and Ball maintained a warm professional relationship for decades afterward, with Wayne making a memorable guest appearance on The Lucy Show in 1966. Their on-screen chemistry and easy rapport suggested a comfortable familiarity that went beyond casual acquaintance. When asked about Wayne years later in a 1977 interview, Lucy said only, "Duke was one of the good ones, a real professional and a true gentleman in private." The slight smile that accompanied this statement left room for interpretation. What makes this rumored connection particularly interesting is the stark contrast between Wayne's rugged masculinity and Desi's flamboyant Latin charm. According to Lucy's longtime hairstylist, Lucy once told me that after years with Desi's emotional highs and lows, she found herself drawn to stoic, steady men who didn't need constant attention or validation. She said, "I spent my days creating chaos for the camera. In my private life, I craved calm." This might explain why, despite their seemingly mismatched public personas, Lucy and Wayne could have found common ground. Both were hard-working professionals who valued straightforwardness and had little patience for Hollywood pretension. Wayne's son Patrick, in a 2005 interview about his father's friendships with leading ladies, noted, "Dad had immense respect for Lucy as a businesswoman. He'd say she had bigger balls than most of the studio executives he dealt with. That's about the highest compliment my father could give anyone." According to a set photographer who worked on Wayne's guest appearance on The Lucy Show, there was a moment between takes when they didn't realize anyone was watching. He whispered something in her ear that made her laugh. Not her performative Lucy laugh, but her real one, and she squeezed his hand in a way that seemed very intimate. It wasn't romantic exactly, but it wasn't just friendly either. It was like they shared a private joke that went way back.
She just sits up there and takes it easy. You're not getting tired of doing television, are you? Didn't you get to the point once where you were going to quit and says,
5. The unnamed studio executive, the revenge affair. Perhaps the most controversial of the rumored affairs involves an unnamed high-ranking CBS executive who was reportedly one of Desi's closest friends. According to several Desi staff members who spoke on condition of anonymity years after Lucy's death, after enduring years of Desi's public infidelities, Lucy allegedly had what one source called a revenge affair with this executive. A secretary who worked in the executive offices at Desi claimed, "Several of us knew. It wasn't about love. It was about leverage." After years of humiliation, she needed something to level the playing field, and choosing someone so close to Desi was her way of saying, "I can play this game too." The most telling detail comes from a studio accountant who claimed Desi knew, but he couldn't say anything because he was 10 women deep himself. There was one particular blowout argument where he started to accuse her, and she just looked at him and mentioned a name. This executive's name, Desi, went white as a sheet and never brought it up again. The unnamed executive reportedly remained a close business associate of both Lucy and Desi for years, even after their divorce, a testament to the complicated personal and professional entanglements that defined Hollywood's golden age. What makes this alleged affair particularly significant is how it may have shifted the power dynamics in Lucy and Desi's relationship. According to a writer who worked on I Love Lucy, there was a noticeable change in how Desi treated Lucy professionally around 1955. Before, he would sometimes dismiss her ideas in production meetings. After whatever happened between them that year, he became much more deferential to her creative input. Something had changed in their power balance. The executive in question reportedly had considerable influence over programming decisions at CBS. A network secretary from that era noted, "Lucy suddenly started getting everything she wanted from the network: budget increases, creative control, schedule preferences. We all wondered what gave her such sudden leverage, especially since the ratings, while strong, hadn't particularly spiked." Lucy's longtime personal assistant, in a private memoir shared with family members but never published, allegedly wrote, "The affair wasn't about passion, it was about power. Lucy was tired of being betrayed and humiliated. She told me, 'Sometimes you have to speak to people in the only language they understand.' It was the first time I saw her truly embrace her power as not just a star, but as a woman who could play the same games as the men who had hurt her." According to Hollywood historian Martin Green, if this affair did happen as reported, it represents a pivotal moment in Lucy's evolution, from a woman who suffered Desi's indiscretions in pained silence to someone who took control of both her personal dignity and professional power. It may have been the first step toward her eventually taking full control of Desi after their divorce.
Get out of there. That's my wife. This is Lucy.
Hey, boy. If you're so jealous, I'll kiss you.
6. Dean Martin, the late life companion. The final rumored romance came much later in Lucy's life, after her divorce from Desi and her subsequent marriage to comedian Gary Morton. According to several sources who were close to Lucy in her later years, she and Dean Martin, who was also divorced and somewhat adrift after his professional split from Jerry Lewis, found comfort in each other's company. A neighbor who lived near Lucy's Beverly Hills home claimed there were regular late-night visits from Martin's distinctive car during the late 1960s and early 1970s. It wasn't about lust. It was two survivors finding each other in the wreckage, the neighbor told a Hollywood historian. Two icons who didn't need to explain their complicated lives to each other. What gives credibility to this rumored connection is the undeniable chemistry the two displayed whenever they appeared together on television. Their comfort level and the spark in their interactions suggested a deep familiarity and affection that transcended mere professional courtesy. Lucy's longtime hairdresser claimed, "She lit up differently when Dean was around or when his name was mentioned. It wasn't the giddy excitement of young love, it was the warm glow of finding someone who truly understands you, who's walked the same difficult path." Neither Martin nor Ball ever publicly acknowledged a romantic relationship, and given their stature in Hollywood, they would have had every reason to be discreet. Yet those close to both stars noted a special tenderness in their interactions that suggested more than friendship. Martin's daughter Dina, in her memoir about growing up with her famous father, noted, "Dad had a special phone that only rang when certain people called. There weren't many who had that number, but Lucy was one of them. Sometimes he'd take those calls in private, which was unusual for him. He didn't have many secrets from us kids, but whatever was between him and Lucy seemed to be just for them. What made this potential relationship particularly poignant was that it came at a time when both stars were facing the twilight of their careers and dealing with personal challenges. Martin was struggling with his solo identity after the break with Jerry Lewis, while Lucy was working to reinvent herself after I Love Lucy had ended. A producer who worked with both stars noted they had both been through the ringer, professionally and personally. They'd experienced the highest highs and lowest lows of fame. There was a shorthand between them, a mutual understanding that seemed to offer comfort. In an industry built on illusion, they could be real with each other. Lucy's second husband, Gary Morton, was reportedly aware of and unbothered by her close friendship with Martin. According to those who knew the couple, theirs was a marriage partly of convenience. Morton provided stability and managed Lucy's business affairs, while giving her the freedom to maintain her other close relationships. A household staff member who worked for Lucy in the 1970s claimed Mr. Morton and Mr. Martin were actually friendly with each other. It wasn't the jealous situation you might expect. They seemed to have an understanding. Mr. Morton once told me, Lucy deserves all the happiness she can find. God knows she's earned it. Lucy took most of these secrets to her grave when she passed away on April 26, 1989. In her final interview just months before her death, when asked about the many rumors of her romantic life, she simply smiled and said, "The world got my talent. Only a select few got my heart." Were these 6 affairs real? Hollywood insiders who knew her best say yes. The evidence suggests Lucy found moments of connection outside her troubled marriage, seeking what Desi couldn't or wouldn't provide: respect, fidelity, and emotional stability. In the end, perhaps it doesn't matter. What matters is understanding that behind the iconic redhead America invited into their living rooms was a real woman, complicated, passionate, and determined to find happiness on her own terms. If you enjoyed this glimpse behind the Hollywood curtain, hit subscribe for more revelations about the golden age of cinema. Until next time, remember, the most fascinating stories often happen when the cameras stop rolling.